what was the direct impact of the Nakba on Palestinian music? So, a little bit of context. Let's talk about Palestinian music before 1948. We don't know a ton about it prior to 1936, but we do know that Palestine had a rich tradition of folk songs and various instruments that were culturally important to Palestine. And we know there are also not just a rich folk song tradition, but also various kinds of folk songs with simple melodies, kind of like folk songs in Britain, that you could improvise on and add tons and tons of verses, thousands of verses if you wanted to. And there are also big music festivals across various places in Palestine at this time, and there would be people coming in from Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan to participate in these festivals as well. And in Jerusalem, there was also a decent-sized Armenian population who promoted their Armenian music. Now, in 1936, the British established Jerusalem Radio following a big strike in 1936 to have better communication with this region. And this station had both a Western orchestra and a classical Arabic ensemble. And then in 1940, they established Near Eastern Radio to better communicate foreign affairs in the Second World War, and they also had studio musicians as well. Now, in 1948, there was the Nakba, which took place during the Arab-Israeli War. Lasted between 47 and 49. And during the Nakba, Israel declared its independence and claimed most of the land except for Gaza and the West Bank, and kicked off 700,000 people, mostly Palestinians, and anybody who was not Jewish. And so the festivals I just mentioned stopped completely, and the radio stations I mentioned moved to Cyprus for Near Eastern Radio, and then Radio Jerusalem stopped existing altogether and moved into Jordan and became Radio Jordan. And unfortunately, by virtue of these people being dispersed all across the world, a lot of the folk song traditions were completely lost, very sadly. And when those musicians came into other countries like Syria, Jordan, and Lebanon, they assimilated into that musical culture. Well, because that's what the public and governments of those countries wanted them to do. Now, new radio stations were established in Israel, Radio Israel, and they would still play Arabic classical music on the radio for several years, and they also had both Arabic and Jewish studio musicians. But even so, unfortunately, the original traditional music of Palestine went through a very strong cultural interruption, and a lot of it was lost and unfortunately not preserved.